give you a little perspective on a couple of things as from where I sit, and having talked to the board, not the board, but their subcommittee. First of all, you have a project here that is done correctly. It could be a very nice starting project for the city of Chula Vista in our redevelopment process.
Which project are we
I'm talking about the whole thing, the 3rd Avenue, the L Street, the 4th Avenue, as a project. Could be a very good starting redevelopment project, which would kickstart some of our revenues and do some nice things for the city and the community. So having said that, of course, we don't want to do it in any other way than the proper way. What I see here, though, we have a lot of work to do in terms of convincing the applicant of the right way to approach this thing. Okay, my take on it is that without the presence of a developer with the applicant, we really don't have anything to work with. We have no way of evaluating the projections, the pro forma. We have no way to having a public entity entitle land doesn't seem quite right to me. I think that's something that developers should do, and then working together they can bring this to fruition. So I think the process is quite flawed, and therein lies the rub. That's their hotspot. They don't want to give up that opportunity to do this themselves, and it just can't fly that way. So we've got to be in a position of finessing it in such a way that everybody wins, and that we want the district to win. We need that admin building off of 5th Avenue, and the corporate yard off of 5th Avenue property. That's got to go. It's polluting, and it's just not the right thing to have it. So we need to relocate that. We need to have their admin on 3rd Avenue to provide the mass that we need down there in terms of employment and working in that center core. There's plenty of opportunity for mixed use, and there's plenty of opportunity for adult school here if we do it correctly. We need to study it. We really need to hold the line on the process. And so Eric has a thought on that, and I know that the whole community development organization has a thought, and you guys, we all do. We all know what the right way to go here. So we need to figure out a way to put this together and then go to their board, and present it in such a way that it makes sense to them, and we can work together on it. So having said that, I'll let Paul, he's the other part of the subcommittee. And by the way, I have just invited Doug Paul to join us on that subcommittee, so we now have 3 members of this board on that subcommittee. So go ahead.
Well, the primary issue, I agree wholeheartedly with what you said, is that the 3rd Avenue property was bought specifically to stimulate 3rd Avenue to bring employees into the area. So that is, again, I think that's a given, in my opinion. And also the 5th Avenue site is a given to relieve the neighborhood of the corporation yard. So that being said, I'm really concerned about the approach to the amount of tax increment that they want from us. State law is pretty specific. Even if we want it, even if we had it, and even if this project generates it, tax increment is for a specific purpose. And we can work with off-site improvements, we can do all kind of other things, but to actually contribute to the entire development in the manner in which they have said is really kind of one of the major issues that I see, is that we have to understand how they think we can utilize all this tax increment for their benefit, when tax increment is not really, at least the way I see it, is not really set up for us to use in that manner. So that's a real concern. I'm also concerned, and these are more particular issues right now, is that the housing that they have for the L Street site and that would go in on 5th Avenue, I think the densities, well, we haven't talked about densities, and that's really specific, but the housing market is flat, and of course we're planning for the future, we're looking to the future, but it just seems to me that they bought that property at the height of the housing frenzy, and they have to do something to get some major production and use out of that. And as our chairman said, we want to work with them to see what the best land use and the best use of the site is. But I'm really concerned with what they're, when they purchased the property, what they purchased the property for, and that was mainly for housing. It does have, it is on the trolley line, and that does, there's no trolley stop there, but that is a real benefit. But I have a lot of concerns, and I'm very hopeful that we can come up with something that the school district can accept. I was left with the impression at the last meeting with us that it was almost their take it or leave it, and I hope that we can come up with something and some kind of fruitful discussion so that we can try to get our goals and objectives through to them.
Yeah, and I think now for you guys, rest of you folks, I'm sure you have your impression of what took place at the last meeting, so we'll kind of be guarded with your comments, but at any rate, let's hear from you, what's your take of that. Go ahead, Dr. Paul.
Well, I had a question, Paul, of you, because as Chairman Lewis is indicating, there was, I thought, a very strong message being sent to our board that they were tired of waiting and they wanted, that they were going to make some demands, and being a public jurisdiction themselves, accountable to a slightly different constituency, their driver is money, and they were just telling us they're going to do this deal one way or the other. And I kind of felt that they were not asking us, they were telling us, which didn't set particularly well, and I thought there was some need to work that through. Did that come up in the further discussion that you've had with your subcommittee? Were you able to talk about kind of the tenor of how this could be?
We really haven't discussed it much subsequent to that meeting.
And I know that David, you've had some conversations with them. Is that something that you can share with this group?
It's kind of an empty thread, but I guess I think you just heard some of the frustration of them trying to put this together over what they said is that they've submitted 12 different plans, and all of them have been rejected by the redevelopment agency, by the city, but they've all been rejected for the same reasons, and that is that they don't follow a reasonable format and how to put the plan together, and they basically want to spend our money without any accountability. And the percentage of participation is growing each time they submit one, to where we appear to be the major investor in their project. And again, without any accountability as to how that money is spent, as to even who the players are who will be executing the development, the main developers. So they are a property owner, and they have the right to develop their property, and they can do that. They will always be in a redevelopment area. They will always pay a tax increment, and that's one of the issues in redevelopment. So I think if we could have a constructive discussion about the best way to make these projects work, we could do that. I'm afraid they've been sold a bill of goods about somebody saying they're going to get hundreds of millions of dollars from the redevelopment agency as a result of these deals, and they're not going to have to contribute they're going to use our money to build their projects. And we certainly can contribute to them and be a good partner with them, but we haven't been able to get to that discussion. I mean, that's my sense.